Imagine if you could choose between living forever or accepting the inevitability of death. What would your choice be? The idea of immortality may seem seductive, but do we truly understand what it means? For centuries, our relationship with death has shaped who we are and how we live. Today, science is advancing rapidly, offering possibilities once thought unimaginable. From reversing aging to transferring our consciousness into machines, we are closer than ever to challenging the natural cycle of life. But are we ready to deal with the implications of this? Perhaps, in trying to overcome death, we are distancing ourselves from what makes us human. After all, mortality is not just a limitation. It's a force that gives meaning to our choices and teaches us to cherish the present. In this video, we will explore the existential, philosophical, and scientific dilemmas. What does it truly mean to overcome death? What do we gain or lose in the pursuit of immortality? Get ready to reflect, because this question goes far beyond science. It touches the very heart of what it means to live. Mortality has always been one of life's greatest mysteries. Since the dawn of time, humans have created stories and myths to explain life and death. Though finitude is feared, it also serves as a driving force. Think about it. If we had all the time in the world, would our decisions carry the same weight? Religions and philosophies worldwide offer narratives about what happens after death. Some promise reincarnation, others eternal life in paradise. Yet, they all share a common thread: the attempt to cope with the idea that life as we know it comes to an end. This shapes our cultures and even our daily priorities. Mortality is not merely a shadow hanging over us. It reminds us of the urgency to live. When we know our time is limited, each moment gains greater value. Loss and the end of cycles, however painful, also teach us to grow. It's as though the end of everything paradoxically becomes the beginning of something new. For existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre, mortality gives life depth. Without it, choices would lose their significance and purpose would dissolve. If life were infinite, would we ever truly begin to live it? The idea that everything ends challenges us to be more present and intentional. At the same time, there is a painful side to mortality. It brings fear, not just of ceasing to exist, but of leaving things undone. It serves as a constant reminder of our fragility and the uncertainty that surrounds us. This balance between the beauty of urgency and the weight of loss is what makes mortality so central to the human experience. And so, as we search for answers about death, we find something even deeper: the meaning of life. Without mortality, perhaps the desire to create, love, and transform would weaken. After all, the certainty that everything ends challenges us to make the most of the now. But would transcending mortality change all of this? With advances in science and technology, we are closer than ever to transcending death. But can or should we rewrite the rules of existence? In recent centuries, science has progressed at an incredible pace, offering solutions once considered impossible. Today, we talk about immortality, not just as a philosophical concept, but as a concrete goal. Researchers and companies are developing technologies that promise to extend life indefinitely, challenging the limits of biology. One of the most promising areas is gene therapy, which seeks to reverse the damage caused by aging. Scientists have already identified genes responsible for cell regeneration and are testing ways to activate them. In laboratories, aging cells have shown signs of rejuvenation. Are we on the verge of controlling time itself? Another intriguing possibility comes from artificial intelligence and transhumanism. Some believe that in the future it will be possible to transfer our consciousness into machines, creating a kind of digital immortality. Imagine living in a mechanical body or a virtual reality, free from physical limitations. It sounds like science fiction, but many of these ideas are already being seriously studied. However, the pursuit of immortality raises ethical questions. Who will have access to these technologies? Would we create a new form of inequality where only the wealthy could live forever? Beyond that, what would happen to the planet's resources if no one died anymore? Immortality may seem like a solution, but it could also bring problems we have yet to imagine. From a philosophical standpoint, the idea of overcoming death challenges our understanding of humanity. After all, much of what we are is tied to our mortality. Turning life into something infinite could disconnect us from the emotions that make existence meaningful, such as the urgency to live fully. Even so, science fascinates us precisely because it pushes us to question limits. It gives us the chance to explore unimaginable possibilities. But are we, in trying to control death, ignoring the lessons it teaches us? Perhaps immortality, instead of freeing us, could trap us in an endless cycle of repetition. The pursuit of immortality also forces us to confront our deepest fear, the void. Do we want to live forever because we love life, or because we are afraid of what comes after? These are questions that science, no matter how advanced, still cannot answer. As we explore these possibilities, it's important to remember that every scientific advancement comes at a cost. By challenging the natural cycle of life, we must also be prepared to face the consequences. What are we truly seeking when we try to transcend death? The idea of living forever may seem appealing at first glance, but like any choice, it comes with risks and consequences. To begin with, we must consider the psychological impact of an endless life. Imagine never having an endpoint, a moment of closure. Over the centuries, would immortality bring greater satisfaction, or just overwhelming boredom? Philosopher Bernard Williams argued that an eternal life could become unbearable. Without the perspective of death, our actions might lose their meaning. Think about the most exciting moments in your life. Aren't they remarkable precisely because they are rare and fleeting? If immortality eliminates the scarcity of time, would it also erase the value of those moments? There's also the risk of emotional saturation. Imagine experiencing all human emotions: joy, sadness, love, loss, countless times. Would these experiences still carry the same intensity? Or would they become mundane? The inevitable repetition in an infinite existence could turn the extraordinary into the ordinary. What drives us today could become a burden. Beyond individual impacts, immortality poses enormous social challenges. Who would have access to this technology? If only the rich and powerful could live forever, social inequality would reach unimaginable levels. The idea of an eternal elite controlling the fate of mortal commoners paints a dystopian scenario that no society would be prepared to face. Another critical aspect is the environmental impact. The planet already struggles to sustain the current population. If no one died, natural resources would be depleted rapidly. How would we deal with an overcrowded Earth, unable to regenerate what we consume? Living forever may seem like an individual dream, but it could become a collective nightmare. From an existential perspective, immortality challenges what it means to be human. Our identity is built on cycles: beginning, middle, and end. By removing the end, we risk losing our essence. Mortality, as frightening as it may be, is also a creative force. It pushes us to grow, love, and transform. But perhaps the greatest risk is what we call the prison of eternity. In trying to escape death, we might find ourselves trapped in a purposeless, infinite life. The idea of living forever raises the question, why? Without a final horizon, where would we find motivation or meaning. These implications force us to reflect on whether immortality would truly solve our problems or create new dilemmas. Are we, in trying to overcome death, ignoring the beauty of the ephemeral? Perhaps it is precisely mortality that teaches us to value the now, to give meaning to the present. Mortality isn't just an abstract idea. It's present in our everyday decisions. The fear of death, even unconsciously, influences how we live. Think about taking care of your health, saving for the future, or planning your career. All these choices are guided by a sense of limited time. But what if that limit disappeared? If we knew we would live forever, would we prioritize the same things? Today we cherish the present moment because it is fleeting. A dinner with friends, a sunset, or a hug are precious precisely because they can't be endlessly repeated. Without mortality, we might become complacent, putting off for tomorrow what we could experience today. This dilemma even shows up in small decisions. For example, people often make bucket lists, goals or experiences they want to achieve before they die. These include trips, projects, and meaningful moments, motivated by the feeling that time is running out. If time were no longer a concern, would we still make these lists? Or would we live simply waiting for the next day, without urgency? On the other hand, the quest for longevity already shapes many modern habits. From diets and exercise to medical advancements, we constantly try to extend our lives. And while that is natural, are we losing something important in the process? Sometimes the obsession with living longer prevents us from enjoying the present. The quality of life should matter as much as its quantity. But we often forget this. People who work non-stop to ensure a secure future, sacrificing the present, perfectly illustrate this paradox. What if that future never comes? Or if it is infinite? What would remain? Perhaps it's time to reflect on how we're living before we focus on extending existence. Mortality teaches us that every choice matters. Without it, we might fall into the trap of endlessly postponing important decisions and moments. An infinite life may seem liberating, but it could also lead to eternal procrastination. After all, there would always be more time. But isn't true freedom found in embracing each moment as unique? Connecting these reflections to our daily lives helps us understand that the value of life isn't in its duration, but in its intensity. Loving, creating, and taking risks. All of these are driven by the certainty of an end. By eliminating that end, we might lose the motivation that makes us truly live. As science brings us closer to overcoming mortality, we must ask ourselves, what are we truly seeking? Is the desire for immortality a way to avoid the fear of the unknown? Or do we already have everything we need to live fully in the present? The quest for immortality is more than a desire to prolong life. It reflects our fear of the unknown. The idea of transcending death may seem liberating, but it also forces us to confront profound questions about who we are and what we value. After all, what truly defines a life well lived? Perhaps mortality is less of an obstacle and more of a compass that guides us. It is the awareness of the end that teaches us to live the present with intention, to create meaningful connections, and to seek what makes us feel alive. In trying to escape death, we risk losing these lessons. Science offers us incredible tools to challenge our limits. But are we prepared to handle the implications of an infinite life? Immortality may bring comfort by eliminating uncertainty, but it could also deprive us of the urgency that gives our existence purpose. In the end, perhaps the question isn't whether we want to live forever, but whether we are living well with the time we have. Mortality reminds us that every moment is unique, And that's what makes life precious. Would immortality be a dream or a burden? Share your thoughts in the comments, because reflecting on what it means to live is the first step toward fully enjoying the present. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for updates on new content. We want to know, would you choose to live forever if you could? Or do you think mortality is essential for life's meaning? Leave your opinion in the comments and join this reflection. If you found this topic interesting, check out other videos on the channel about science, philosophy, and existential questions. We're just beginning to explore what it truly means to live.